Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We got the memo. Look at this.
Wow, we got the memo. And I didn't even look at the email. Just kidding.
How are you doing this morning, Miss Bethany?
I like when that happens, though. I like how that means that
serendipitous.
Sync. It's like we're kind of pulling from each other and don't even know.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful queen.
Why, thank you. Yes, we have great taste in colors and clothes.
I know, and even our background is blue-like, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah, right. Exactly. Even StreamYard got the memo. Love it.
Love the memo.
How are you doing, Miss Barbara Beckley?
I am doing wonderful every day. I know I mentioned a little bit about, I had my little health challenges within the last month and a half, but it feels really good just to, I was just telling a group last night, because I meet in this accountability group once a month. I just got back to it yesterday. And they were like, we missed you. We were wondering what they said, because you don't just go silent.
Right.
I said,
exactly.
No, I said, that's a nice way to say, I talk like I got a big mouth.
Yeah.
But I'm just kidding. Because they said no. But I was like, okay. But I was telling them, I said, this really made me and I think I told you too, Barbara, it made me reanalyze and rethink about things overall, what I'm doing. And even with, just choosing the energy. Okay, this is something we can probably talk about because we always talk about certain energy, bad, negative and positive. This is even choosing where you're going to spend your time, where you're going to spend your energy at. Are you going to spend your energy getting peed off and being upset for like 2 or 3 hours over something that probably you could not even do nothing about, right? Sometimes we don't have no control. But, I was saying, even if you really got control over it, that's even better because you could decide not to stay there. So, yeah.
Exactly. That's like, I'm a positive intelligence coach. And part of what I do anyways. And that's like our emotions. It's like staying in those negative emotions. It's like putting your hand on a hot stove and not taking it off. Though our emotions are absolutely essential. They really get us in touch with what's happening in our lives. If we need to take a look at something, but they are not meant for us to stay there. They're an alert. It's like having a hot stove. Would you keep your hand on a hot stove? No. You just instantly take it off because that's just the alert is the hot stove. Well, our emotions are no different. And whether we are feeling, let's name a few: guilt, shame, frustration, anger, all of those negative emotions, those are the alerts that our brain uses to say, hey, something needs to change here.
Yeah.
But if you can't do anything about it, if it's in the past and you can't do anything to change it, let it go and say, I am, you know me and my fess up. If you did it, fess up, take the heat, and then go on.
Yeah.
Don't dwell on it for 5 years, 10 years. I'll give you an example. The other day, something came up of something that I did as a kid. It wasn't nice, but it came up into my, and I went, where did that come from? From as a kid. And I was like, yeah, obviously. And I mean, I laughed about it. However, that's the response that we need to have. If it's something that we did yesterday, because if you can't, it's in the past, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is when those things come out, and it's so funny that we're talking about it, because one of the things that comes up, I call them the CEO of the company that I do marketing with. He is a personal development trainer. I mean, he was one of the mentors of Tony Robbins. I mean, this is how big he is. Anyways, so he trains us all the time on personal development things. And so one time he was training us on the edge. Is like, and I know you and I before, as we get to an edge. Well, an edge is all the negative things that are happening around us sometimes. I had an edge this past week where I was so frustrated and just nothing, one of those things where nothing seems to be going right. Nothing's working. Everything's happening to me.
It's like, what is it? What?
Why is this happening to me? It's either family or finances or something.
Something.
So those are the edges of our lives, and we get to choose. And that's where those negative emotions are coming in.
Yeah. Those
negative emotions are feeding into that edge. Well, then we have to choose. Are we going to fall over the edge into an abyss, go down into despair? Or are we going to say, look, something needs to change here. I'm going to rise above this and go to the next stepping stone above it. And it's just, I had one of those this week, and it was like, okay, Barbara, what are you going to do? This is what you teach. This is what you train. What are you going to do?
Don't you love it? Like the things that you teach and train other people, and all of a sudden you go through something that you're like, okay, I teach this, I do this, I know this, I breathe this, and now I'm like, So you have to really take that in.
You have to do it. You have to do it. Exactly. You have to do it. And I love that. I love what we've put up today, the power of language. Words matter.
Oh, yes.
The words you're telling yourself, the words especially the words you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
Especially the words, because we're choosing to do that.
Yeah. And then you got to figure out, I'm glad you brought, because we're going to talk about that with our queen, Kimberly, in a little bit. But what I was thinking about when you said that is when something comes in your, like, I'm going to use myself as an example because it did happen. One day I was working on something. I was like, oh my God, I am just so stupid with this. What is going on, Barbara? You just go stupid. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't used stupid in where does stupid come? I was just thinking about why am I just so stupid? And guess where it came from? When I was little Barbara, 7 years old, when my bullying was happening, when you say, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're fat, you'll never be anything. And then all of a sudden I heard it in the little children's voices in my head. And I was like, oh, that's where it came from. It's going back. It's coming back. So I said, okay, Barbara, just like you said, Barbara, then I do an assessment. Am I going to let this, I have a choice. Do I keep saying this and keep dwelling on this? Or I say, you know what, that was back in the past. We're going to squash that. We're going to move forward. No, Barbara's still learning. Barbara's still growing. She doesn't know this concept just yet. She has to learn it. See, I had to start saying that to myself and say, you're stupid.
Right. It's the learning curve.
Yes.
And that's what got me this week was the learning curve. And the learning curve for a couple of days was kicking my butt.
Kicking the butt.
My butt. Because we're all trying to grow. Like right now, I'm working on doing a TikTok, learning how to do TikTok, doing the little videos, putting up. Like right now, today, a friend of mine is going to teach me how to put the captions on. I looked and went, okay, I know there's a way to do it. Couldn't find a way to do it. Those kinds of things. But exactly the same thing. It's like, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with me that I can't figure this out? There is nothing wrong with you. It is strictly the learning curve.
Yes.
Sometimes the learning curve is a little steeper.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little longer. Sometimes it's like, oh, brother, am I ever going to learn this? But you know what? Yes, you do.
And you know what? Just to add to that, and sometimes it's just you just maybe delegating it.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, should I be doing this?
Yes. That's the other.
Should I be doing this? And that's the question that I ask myself so often. Is what I am doing the best use of my time, resources, and energy? And take a second. And this is a learning for somebody here, obviously. This is one of my learning moments. Take a moment. What I love when I just look at the camera, it's like, okay, I'm talking to somebody here. You have to do that because if you are doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, all it's going to do is cause you grief. And you might end up being able to do it and do it efficiently, but it's not what you're called to do. It doesn't make your heart sing.
I love when you say that.
Consequently, if it's not making your heart sing, it is draining your energy from what will make your heart sing.
Yes.
Quit doing it.
I love
if you're not supposed to be doing it, quit doing it.
Quit doing it. Look in the camera. Stop it. I love how first of all, every time when you say you need to do what makes your heart sing, that just makes me sing because I love that whole concept, what you say. But the other thing, like you said, you're wasting time. Here I go with not wasting that energy again, right?
Right, exactly.
Focusing on what your heart's supposed to be singing, focusing on your uniqueness that is bringing life and help to others. I tell people that all the time. I say, your gift, if you start, pushing it to the side or doing something different where you're not taking the time to really perfect yourself with the gift that you have, people are missing out on Barbara Ellison. People are missing out on Kimberly Wilkerson. People are missing out on me.
Exactly.
Because we're so engulfed in everything else or putting our energy somewhere else. It's like, no, we need to put our energy here because people are waiting for us to help them.
Right. Exactly. This past weekend, I had the absolute privilege of doing a reading for a patriotic cantata here in my town, and it was wonderful. Totally enjoyed doing it, and he's already asked me to do something for Christmas. Let's give me a little pat on my back. He said, because it was like Barb. He said, Barb, his name's the director, and he just said, the Barb, you did really well. Thank you so much. It just really added to the program. And but then afterwards, several of us, we were talking just about what the time and effort that goes into the rehearsals and all those things. And we were talking about just this subject. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? If you're supposed to be doing it, then that's great. But if you're not supposed to be doing it, if you are doing something that you are not called to do, then you are taking the space of somebody who is called to do it.
And not in your space. So you're taking
somebody else's space,
so
and you're doing something that's not really in your wheelhouse kind of thing. You've learned to do it, but you're not totally into doing it or whatever. And it was so funny because there was 3 or 4 of us talking. We were just talking about this subject, and one of the guys said, "Oh, I never thought of it that way." Because he's one of those that, I'll do that. I'll do that. Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Even when, without giving someone else a chance to step up and do that thing. And when I said that, it was like, you and I, we've talked many times, but sometimes you can see it when something lands on somebody.
Yeah, it's like
it lands. Their light bulb, if the light bulb goes on and it goes down into their heart.
Yes.
And he looked straight at me and he said, "Oh, I've never thought of it that way." And I knew that it had landed on him because he's absolutely a wonderful guy, a great musician. But he loves to volunteer.
Yeah. And see, that happens to a lot of us that want to, especially servant leaders that always want
that we want
everybody trying to fix everything, just want to be there for people. Right. And sometimes you overtax yourself, and then you start getting, like you said, into places where basically another person really should be doing is you're taking that time from somebody else that knows that wants to learn and grow and help people in that area. And you need to go in your thing, not saying that you shouldn't know how to do, because I tell people, I said, it's one thing for me to understand what you're doing, which is good. Right. Because it's good to, especially when you have your own business, you want to understand all the players,
all the moving parts, understand the moving parts.
But it's another thing to say, do I need to do all the moving parts? No.
Thank you. Exactly. Because I need to be doing it all.
I know I was talking to another entrepreneur the other day, and we were just catching up. And, she knows that I do, commercial videos and all that and production.
I know.
And she knows how to do it too. Right. So I always commend her because I see what she does at times. Right. And she said, "Barbara, you know what? I am going to do the right thing now." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I'm just, she just brought it up. I was like, "Okay, what is it?" Right. And she said, I have this event coming up in the next 3 weeks. It's called Christmas in July. And she said, I'm not going to do the video. I'm not going to do the little whatever. She said, in fact, I want to ask you to do it because I know that's your expertise. She said, I know how to do it, but I shouldn't be doing that because I need to be really engulfed in bringing the people on, the guests, and really, working that because it's a 2 days, it's going to be a 24-hour streaming, and she's going to have a guest every 30 minutes to give stories about hope and, and thriving and all that. And she said, I need to work on making sure all that's going to be, I don't need to be sitting there on the sideline and say, okay, let me make the video. Let me do the video. I spend all this time. And she said, I know you do that. So yes, would you be, honored to do it? I said, I would love, I love it. That's my lane. Right. So she said, yay. And she said, see, and then we kind of summarized and said, it's nice to know how to do it. She said, like I said, she knows how to do it. She said, but do I need to be doing it? And then that's what, that's what we got out of the whole thing. And it goes back to what we're talking about today. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to relinquish somebody else. I know what to do, but I don't need to be doing that.
Right, exactly. If you really enjoy doing something, like one of the things that you're like, I do a LinkedIn live show, and I love doing them. I love being on camera. I also like doing the production work of it because I only do it occasionally. So right at this moment, I do the production work. I make the video. I make the little banner, and I make the thumbnails and all of those things because it's creative for me. And so I'm enjoying doing it. But mind you, I'm only doing one every week, maybe once a week. And so it's a fun thing for me. Now, would I want to be doing it every day? No. No. And has more people come on and I'm really growing the number of people that want to come on and do my LinkedIn lives with me. That's going to be something that I will delegate out. But for right now, I do it as it's part of my playtime to relax.
Yeah.
And so that's a totally different story. If you're doing something to relax and it just makes your heart sing. I mean, it's like, oh, this is fun. It's still, oh, this is fun. Oh, well, this was slightly frustrating. Oh, but yeah, no, but it's still fun, and you can have little frustrating moments, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
When you're in that spot, great, do it. When it ceases to be fun and it's more frustration than fun, that's the time to delegate it.
And it's really pulling on a lot of your time for doing that.
Pulling on your time and your energy and your mental. If you're finding that you're more into the negative side, it's time to delegate it. And that's a good barometer. If you're spending more time feeling negative about it, it's time to delegate it.
Yeah. And can I throw this out there before we bring our queen up?
Sure. Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to do that with people.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Remember, I was telling you about that different relationships. Some are there for, I keep telling myself, like you said, you teach others what you teach. Telling myself people are in there for a season. Some people might be with you all your life. Some people might just be with you during those high school years and then you're done.
Yeah.
Some people might just be there for a project, so and then you're done, and
then you're done. Yeah, that's what me. I always say, some people are in your life for a reason. Help you do this, help you do whatever.
For a season.
A reason. Some are in for a reason, some are in for a season, some are there for life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes, and then you have to ask yourself that, okay, I'm in this relationship with this friend, and it seemed like, when you first there, it was wonderful. You were blossoming with each other, you're getting some things done and whatever. And then years pass. And this is like you said, that taking that idea of saying to yourself, okay, does this really supposed to be happening still? And then years pass, and then all of a sudden things are not really whatever. Yeah. And it's just like, like you said, you're getting that negativity. You're kind of feeling a certain way with this person to the point where you're like, okay, I want to avoid them at any cost. I mean, it gets to that.
Exactly.
So that's kind of telling you, well, maybe, just maybe, the relationship part of that friendship is moved on.
Yeah. I mean, you can still be polite to each other and
say polite, say hey when you see each other. But see, what happens is when you let it linger like that and don't think about maybe this is a one that needs to go, then you're flipping it where you can't even be polite with each other because now you just want to avoid the person, or you two got into it over something probably petty that shouldn't have been there because you shouldn't have been like together anymore. And then you cause that friction with each other. And maybe you could have avoided all that if we just, said, okay, we did our
let's
thing.
part as friends. Let's part as friends.
Yeah. And I know, again, you don't want to, you feel like, oh, I don't want to let nobody down. I hate to, all that gets in your head. So you got to do the same thing, just like we're talking about with different things that we do, for our business and stuff like that. There's some things you got to do, and that's okay. See, that's what you have to say to yourself. It is okay.
Yep. Exactly. So
we are about to bring a wonderful, wonderful guest. And I don't even know her, and I just feel the love already. I feel the love. She was gonna come on like a few months ago, and then some things,
Right.
basically we had to reschedule.
We had to reschedule her. She was all set to come on, and we had to reschedule.
She was good. It was me. Let's just put it where it's supposed to be. It was me. It was all Barbara. Well, not Barbara.
We love you anyways.
Love me anyway.
The thing is, life happens. It comes back to life happens.
Yeah, she was
Kim was gracious enough to accept the last minute change that.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, when you have people that can understand and then still want to come back, I really
let's just reschedule.
Yeah, that was so nice. So her name is Kimberly Wilkerson, right?
Yep.
And she basically, and this is going to be powerful. She talks about communication and speech language, and she launched Token Clothing Company, a brand that merges empowering and edifying language with gorgeous apparels. Ooh, I love it. See, that's powerful. So, dude, we're going to be talking about when you got it on your chest and everything. That's powerful.
Right. Well, yeah, because like clothing, fabric has energy.
Yes.
And there's a whole science behind the energy that is in fabrics.
Yes.
And I'm like,
it's
a fascinating subject.
Yeah. Sometimes, and what's so nice about it, you don't have to even talk. Sometimes it's just boom, you're showing it right there. Yeah. So we're going to go to our sponsor real quick. And after that, we're going to bring on Queen Kimberly. We'll be right back.
Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Hello. We are back, and we're here with the wonderful Kimberly Wilkerson. If you're just joining in, this is the Time to Shine Happiness Show with the BBs and our always wonderful, marvelous, spectacular guests that we bring. So, Kimberly, welcome, lady.
Thank you. It's a delight to be here with both of you.
Yes.
I met Kimberly at a branding through my branding guy, because we were both talking about our branding and our umbrella brands and stuff. And it was just like, I need to have this girl on our show.
Thanks.
And as you can see, Kimberly, if you heard Queen a few times, I call the ladies queens. I feel like we're all royalty because we do so much in the world. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
You have that crown. Yeah. So, lady, we always like to start off just to get a little backstory, because we want to see how you started to do what you do with your apparels, and just really, the power of, like you said, communication that you work with. So can you give us just a little backstory?
Sure. So Token Clothing Company, which is a fashion company that I founded about 1.5 years ago, actually began in its inception 20 years ago, right? I was in graduate school for speech language pathology, and I knew that I wanted to have a fashion company one day. And so as I sat there in grad schools, learning, spending a lot of money to get that degree, I thought, what am I doing here? Maybe I should just start this now. But I knew that I wanted to become a speech pathologist as well. And so I ended up sometimes drawing designs in my margins of my notes. And over the next several years, I did different things that allowed me to learn more about the fashion industry. So I took some classes. I wasn't a great drawer, so I even took drawing classes so I could get the different designs and concepts that I had in my mind onto paper. And I learned more, again, about the industry as well as the business side of the industry. And again, that was, almost a 20-year journey to the point back in 2020 and 2021, I had this opportunity to go be a speech pathologist down in the U.S. Virgin Islands, which I love the tropics. I scuba dive, I snorkel. I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity. And it would have been a good opportunity, but I also know the trajectory of my life would have changed in what I would have done. And so I came to this point where I felt it was time to launch this company. And I thought, well, I have this decision to make. And I thought I can always go back to the U.S. Virgin Islands if I want to. So I moved forward and started prototyping and started thinking about what is the first thing that I want to bring to the market. And all of this experience as a speech language pathologist, understanding communication, understanding the neuroscience and the positive psychology that we now have in research behind communication just came to the forefront. And I realized that I wanted to merge language with fashion. And so our first line is a line called Pajamas with Purpose. And with that line on the interior side of the garment, there are powerful affirmations, I am statements that through market research, I found the top 3 that women wanted on those pajamas and placed them on there. And some of that design with being on the interior is, and we can get into this, but it's based upon research from a Japanese scientist, Masaru Emoto, and you guys probably have heard of the rice experiments or the water experiments, what words do. Right. It was based upon that. And then another piece of that design, which also you can see on the shirt that we just launched in December, is being able to take that language and make sure that both the observer can read those affirmations as well as the wearer. So if I look in the mirror at this t-shirt, I'm able to read these I am statements, but you looking at me can also read them.
I can read it.
Yeah. And so that is really what Token Clothing has become and was really from the beginning too, is a platform to be able to merge powerful language with beautiful apparel and create an experience, an everyday task of clothing ourselves. We've got to do it. So how do we take this everyday task and make it more uplifting and edifying and elevating for ourselves? And I've called it for some time now, intelligent fashion. That's a term that I've trademarked and that I use. And I actually just finished writing a white paper looking at how fashion is really in this position as an industry to step forward in helping with the mental health crisis that we have in this nation. Because we have all of this research to show, again, through neuroscience and positive psychology, the power of language, the power of self-affirmations, and what that can actually do in decreasing anxiety and increasing self-confidence and self-competence. And so it's kind of a fun place to be and to understand all of these pieces and bring them together and recognize that as an industry and certainly as Token Clothing Company, we can do a lot to help empower women.
And what I just love what you're saying. And I'll give you an example of why. A couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go on a Harley ride, and I saw which was so much fun. It was a blessing to go, a beautiful day. But I saw this girl, and she had on a I don't even know what it was, but it said, "I hate people." And I was like,
I said,
why would you? It shocked me.
Yeah.
I hate people, and I think one of the other ones was, I don't like talking to people or something or other like that. And I was like, why would you put something like that on your body? Because now people are going to not like you. so it really, what you just said absolutely struck me, that what we're putting on our bodies, when you see some of these t-shirts going along right now, I swear it's just because it's from the dark side, that they're keeping people in this mental illness,
right,
and non-communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing the power and energy that words have. It really is. And, you know, as you talked about darkness, I know that we can chase darkness with light. And so, and that's how we combat it, is we add more light to the world. And so certainly through Token Clothing Company and just through my own personal life's mission and values, I believe strongly that we can always bring light. And as we do that, the darkness dissipates. If you think about flipping a light switch on in a room, right? That darkness dissipates. And so as we show up in the world full of light, that darkness can dissipate, and people are attracted to light. So it's our responsibility and really our opportunity to help people.
Yeah. Because that lady, or that young lady, or whoever you see, we need to introduce her to Kimberly so we can change her t-shirt.
Yes. And it was just a random girl that I saw, but I know it was like, it kind of like,
well, that would hit me too. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, but see, that also tells you how important, like Kimberly said, affirmation, the words are so powerful, because
words are powerful,
and how to dig deep. And I always tell people, when you see things like that, if you hear things like that from people, there's something going on
in their life,
which to the point of putting on a t-shirt to say, I hate people, or I don't want to talk, whatever it was. So that tells me right there that, you know, first of all, she's bold enough to even do it. So that is really a dig deep situation. I mean, I'm not her psychiatrist, but I'm just saying that this tells you right there, flags you in your head, like, okay, there's something going on.
There's something going on.
So bold that she's putting out there on a t-shirt, just like on a positive, like the light. I like how we say, you know, light to people, that putting the affirmations out there. So I think that's really cool.
I kind of thought of it as a cry for help.
Yeah, I mean, that too. That's why I said it's something there that, because I mean, just to put on, I mean, to say it to somebody sometimes is different, but when you put on an actual garment and say that, that's like a whole nother level.
So Kimberly, thank you so much for taking the putting the light out there.
The light, like you said, out there to do that.
Yeah. And helping people be aware. I'm aware because I'm a communications specialist, right? I've been studying communication for several years. And I think that it's common knowledge, because you get into a profession and you're so inundated in it that it becomes common knowledge to you, but you realize you have to step back and say, hey, this isn't common knowledge to everyone. So how do we share that? And just simply becoming aware of our thoughts. We have, you know, millions of thought bits going through our minds every day. And the majority of people really aren't aware of them. In fact, I'll share this with you. There was some research just a few years ago out of a university in Canada that showed that the amount of thought bits, so maybe a phrase, something that fits together, not just one word and not, you know, a long stream of words, but something that fits together. For example, I'm feeling great today. That might be a thought bit. As they looked at that in research, they saw that approximately 85 to 90% of those thought bits are repeated every single day in our minds, right? We're repeating the same things. And with that, again, it was around 80 to 85% of those thought bits would be considered negative. So if you think about our thoughts and how we're repeating them every single day and how most of them are negative, that's of concern. And so what do you do with that? As you're teaching and helping people understand, you have to start with that awareness and actually gaining the skills and strategies to pause, to breathe, to become aware. And, you know, we live in this time now where meditation is hugely important and becoming more so, and people are starting to become more aware, which is great. But there is also a lot of room for further education and understanding and practice of that awareness, because we can't change our thoughts if we're not aware of what they are. But when we do become aware, then we can take a lot of action towards changing that, which then changes our outcomes. And that's what we ultimately want.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned a little bit before, Kimberly, about, what you do too, and it helps a little bit with, well, a lot really, with mental health. I always tell people mental health is real. And if you can really, not say that I didn't know it was real before COVID, but when COVID hit and we had those COVID years, as I call it, and so many people, especially being in a location just stuck there. And especially if with family or other people, that was even more so, and especially if you didn't get along with each other. So it kind of compacted there, and not being able to get out and then start really going into your feelings. I mean, you start really thinking more when you're just by yourself all the time. And I'm glad that you created this, because we have to remind ourselves now, because I heard a lot of people, started, their whole mind, their whole mental capacity was changing.
Mm-hmm.
Some was good to the good, and some of it wasn't. And I'm glad that, again, by having this particular, company that you have, where you're putting those affirmations in front of people, in front of their face, in front of other people's faces, I think that really helps with the mental, part of it, what we're dealing with right now in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, in the white paper that I spoke of, there's research that's just come out in the last few years about, even with anxiety, anxiety and depression are significant in our society right now, especially here in the US. Yeah. And so there is research to show that with these self-affirmations that are of value to you, right? Things that are important to you, and that who you want to be, who you want to become, that saying those affirmations, writing those affirmations actually will lead to a decrease in anxiety, according to this research. And so again, reframing our thoughts from the negative to the positive, and being able, of course, to add that visualization in and thinking about what we want is hugely important. And I'm so grateful now that we have all of this neuroscience research and positive psychology research to support that, because I think some people have known that, and some people have believed in that, but it was always kind of something off to the side. It didn't always fit in the sciences. But certainly over the last decades, with positive psychology taking a leap in the sciences, and now again over the last 15 to 20 years with what we can do with neuroscience research, we can show that actually there is incredible benefit to these practices, and the outcomes as a result of these practices not just benefit ourselves, but then they benefit society, right? Mm-hmm. Society is us. So if we can show up as our best selves, then we lift everyone.
Yes. And I love, this is a good just side note. I want to tell people out there, our audience is listening, what you did. And I think I do this too, is doing that marketing research, looking at all the, like you said, the learning that's out there that can give us those ideas. So when we're creating it within our business, we know exactly what the need is. We always hear about the pain point of people and what they're dealing with. Well, I think all of us deal with the pain point of always making sure that we are doing affirmations, always making sure that we're telling ourselves that, we're good, we love ourselves, we're smart, we need to do that. At the beginning, sometimes I'm gonna put it out there, you might not feel it. It's kind of like you're just saying it, but if you continue to do that, it starts to come from here, and it starts to go to your heart, and then you really believe. And I always tell people that you start believing in it. And to me, it's much better repeating that than repeating the negative. So I don't mind being, repeating until it gets in my heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think so often it is so important for it to be like, I love your shirt. It's so important for us to have them in front of our face, so that because your brain just takes everything in. If you see something, if you hear something, if you smell something, it takes it in. So when you can have it in front of you, has a little Post-it note.
Yes.
Has something on the wall. Like I have a couple of those giant Post-it notes that are on my wall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I wear this, like when I look in the mirror, getting ready this morning, it's easy to say, right? I am beautiful. I am strong. I am divine. I am worthy. And so just being able to look at this and just say it, even if it's just one time, it sets the tone for my day. Yeah. And it allows me to be in a position then to receive, I think, greater positivity, right? Greater, my mind is in a position to create is in a position to think in ways that are able to problem solve my day and help others. And so it's amazing how that can set the tone for your day.
Right. I love that. That's good. Yeah, that's a good thing to set the tone for the rest of your day. Because again, making that choice, you can set it where you're doing your affirmations, either if it's on apparel or if you're writing it down. Because I write mine every day. I have what I write down, the 3 things I'm going to do, and then basically scheduling whatever like meetings or whatever I have so I can remember it in my head. And then I write down, okay, what is the affirmation for you today, Barbara? And I write it down. And that sets the tone, like you said, for the whole day. And then sometimes if I feel the day going the other direction, I go back and look at that affirmation. Like, wait a minute, you started off with this. Don't let that overwhelm yourself and then be like,
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Let me share a really fascinating piece of research again on the power of one word. And this was done, I think now probably anywhere between 12 to 14 years ago, but they put people under functional MRI to look at what's happening in their brain. Right. And then they presented one page that had one single word, but it was repeated multiple times. That word was no. That was the only word, right? And sometimes we need that word. Sometimes we need to use the word. Sometimes we need to hear the word. However, what they saw under fMRI was that within less than a second after seeing those no's on a page, the recipients, both heart rate and blood pressure raised immediately. Right? Because it puts us in this place. If you think about the word no, like think about like if you're asking for something or you're trying to do something and you're told no, that kind of puts you into the state of fight, flight, or freeze. And so again, our brain starts to figure out how to respond to something that is negative, even if sometimes, again, that word is necessary. So if we can have that type of physiological response with one word, right? Think what happens when we are telling ourselves or even being in an environment where we hear types of negativity. There's more research to show when you are watching something, whether it's on TV or you're listening to a radio show, and there is violence, there's contention, the same, even if you're not part of it, the same type of response is happening inside your body with your brain as if you were a part of it. So when we come back to the positive words, like you were saying, the affirmations that we've said for the day, what happens is that our brain is able to calm, right? We don't see that type of fight, flight, or freeze response, but we're actually able to give our brain the stillness and the calm that allows all of those organs within the brain to function properly so we can make good decisions, we can problem solve, we can react in a way that's compassionate and that is better, like for those people that we're interacting with. And so that is the power of one word. So it's important to remember, I think, those pieces, because we really can master ourselves and master our day when we're able to master our language.
Wow. That's powerful. That's a really big golden nugget, Kimberly. Thank you for sharing that. Because when you were saying that, I was saying under my breath, no. And even when I was saying under my breath, no, I could feel like, what do you mean, no? See, already.
Yes, exactly.
I got caught up in it that quick. Like you said, that one word, no. What do you mean, no? You really, you're not going to, then all of a sudden you just feel yourself, like you said, that fight, flight, kicks in like quick.
Right. And one of the things that was fascinating for me was when they did the study on water, that water has memory.
Yes.
It absolutely has memory. So one of what has a result of this study, and I think I read it like a month or so ago. And so when I am filling my water filter, I say, "Oh, you're beautiful. You're wonderful. You are so excited to the water," because and then once you drink it, you're going to feel it in your body.
That's right.
And I swear I've noticed the difference.
Yeah.
Doing it. That's telling, because what they said, this whole study was done on that water has memory.
Yes. I actually have the words love on both sides of my water jug, my filtered water jug in the refrigerator, right? Because again, and so you are Barbara, I know both of you are Barbaras, I'm Barbara E. You are talking about research that is related to who I mentioned before, Masaru Emoto, who took water samples sourced from the same place. He put water droplets on Petri dishes. Then he took words, either negative or positive, and he actually faced the words on the inside, facing the water, which is why with the pajamas, the words are facing and touching your skin. Because what he found under microscope when he froze this water, he looked at the crystals. And for the crystals that had words like love, gratitude, peace, joy, those types of words, there were beautifully formed and intricate crystals, things that we would aesthetically say are lovely or beautiful. For the words that were negative, right? I hate you. I'm disgusting. Different phrases and words like that. The crystals were what we might say aesthetically ugly. They were malformed. In fact, one of the crystals I looked at in his research, it looked like something had exploded it, right? It was something that looked negative, like that you wouldn't want to be around. And so that's the research that he looked at. And just as you mentioned, water does have that memory. Well, our bodies are about 60% water, give or take. And so when we are using that language and thinking about that language, and again, with those pajamas, having those words against you, right? What it does for your cellular activity, what it can do inside of you. Again, we have this research to show this, to say, hey, this actually can happen. And so be aware, and not just be aware, but be proactive about that language that you're using, that you're surrounding yourself with. So I love the fact that you have that experience with noticing the difference as you drink water.
Until this moment, I kept thinking, maybe it's just in my mind that I just feel like I've just noticed that I'm feeling more positive and, and just more confident. And I think one of them, I mean, I wrote them on little sticky notes, right? But now I'm going to put them on my water filter itself. And I think, and until this, and it's like, but see, you were meant to come on today.
Definitely.
Until this moment, I had not really made the connection. I started doing it about a month or so ago because I must have seen, because I saw this thing on crystals. Somebody put it out on Facebook about look at crystals, and they were from that research. And so then, of course, I like to learn stuff. So I went back and I said, I'm going to go look at this, and this was the whole thing. And I said, I'm going to start doing that. So. And I swear I've noticed a difference.
Yeah. Let me share another really fun, because this really talks about how we can influence others as well through positive language. And this is published. I'm trying to remember which journal it's published in, but it was through Dr. Emoto as well as some other scientists. And this was some years ago, where they actually put water in somewhere in California behind electromagnetic shields. So in a building. And they had people in Tokyo, Japan, 5,000 miles away, actually just say words of good intention towards this water. Okay. And so when you look at this research, again, 5,000 miles, here's this water behind an electromagnetic shield in, I don't know if it was LA, but it was somewhere in California. And they didn't tell this group of people that there was also a control group of water, which you need to have in science. And so there was a control group of water that wasn't having good intentions and positive language come towards. So what they did is after, I think it was around 2 weeks, they took the water that had been treated with intention and language, and they had around 100 different people look at the crystals of that water and rate them for their aesthetic beauty. And then they also had the same people look at the crystals that were untreated, or the control group, and rate them. And when you looked at the two different groups, there was a significant outcome with the treated water that had intentions coming from 5,000 miles away versus the water that had no intention. So when we think about how language just not impacts ourselves, but also how it impacts others, to me, like, that excites me. And that also reminds me of the, again, responsibility, but also opportunity that I have to lift others and to help make sure that I'm doing my part because of what I know, right? If we don't know it, then it's hard to use knowledge that we don't have. But if we have it, then we can implement that into our daily practice to bless the lives of others.
Yeah. That gives me goosebumps.
I know.
To be part of something that is so intricate.
Yeah.
And it's energy. It's all energy around us. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. I am going to look more into that because it just absolutely,
It's
wow.
It's like, well, with this, our energy is getting our time right now. It's like, oh no, it's time. But Kimberly, before we sign off, and I'm going to put this up here because you have a free gift. I just wanted you to explain real quickly what that gift is for people.
Yeah. So our website is tokenclothingco.com, but there is a specific link that we will share that is an affirmation page. So you can go onto this page and you can be able to download affirmations, I am statements. You can either type in the word that you want, or you can, if you're artistic and want to draw about it, you can download those sheets and then print them off, and then you can add the words that you want.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to leave this on here for a while, and we will put it in the show notes too, so people can get that free gift that this wonderful queen is giving to the world to make sure that you are saying good things and doing those affirmations, because they are very important. Very important.
So powerful.
Yeah, so powerful. So Barbara, I know we're going to leave you with the last say with what you leave every Tuesday.
Absolutely. You know what? We are all here to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. Because each and every one of us, and Kimberly, you are such a perfect example of this. We want to live happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant lives. Those are all the things that we want. So let's all have them together. Let's move together to do it. So make the world a better place.
And Kimberly, we need to have you back because you're family now. So anytime you want to come back on, come on.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we'll see everybody next Wednesday. With another special guest. And just like Barbara said, just keep happiness and just keep putting it out there for the world, because the world really needs it.
We need it.
Sweet.
Bye, everybody.